and
Oddworld.
Hey oddballs, I'm your host Jensen, and welcome to episode 134. I just want to say, if you need to disassociate for a minute, like 10 to 20 minutes, however long this episode is, or any of my previous episodes, I'm here for you. And we've got some really spooky stories today to help you out with that. But before we do that, you're going to learn about another psychic intuition. So here we go. It's
Lesson time.
Today's psychic lesson is random psychic intuition. Random psychic intuition is different from deductive psychic intuition in several ways. It comes from your universal mind and may be totally unrelated to anything known or connected consciously or unconsciously to the psychic image. It could be about something that has taken, is taking, or will take place anywhere in the world. In other words, random psychic intuition can take place in any of the three phases of time: past, present, or future. A random psychic experience often comes at a time when it is unexpected or even unwanted. It can be very powerful and leave you dazed and confused. This disorientation may last only a few moments, but its effects are powerful enough to last a lifetime. The experience itself may continue to live in your mind long after the image first appears. Not all random psychic experiences are negative. It is possible that you might have a pleasant premonition. Then later, you might realize that what you saw as nothing more than a happy daydream has become a reality. It may be that you suddenly get a set of numbers in your head that leads you to a big sweepstake jackpot win. Or a song may begin to play in your head that you haven't heard in years. A song that later you may unexpectedly hear on the radio or television. Random psychic intuition happens when you are in a light trance state. It occurs when your conscious or critical mind is open to images that are sent up from your unconscious and your universal mind. A random psychic trance can be triggered by external or internal stimuli. Once the intuitive trance process begins, it is hard to disengage from it until it has run its course. So this makes me kind of wonder if it's kind of like a deja vu type of thing, because that happens to me quite a bit. One that really sticks out in my mind and is totally random is I remember my dad and I sitting in the front seat of my parents' old car and then my mom and sister in the back. And we were on a bridge and I turned from the passenger seat of the front to look in the back at my mom and sister to talk to them or whatever. And then I shit you not, it happened in real life, I don't know, months or a year or so later. And it freaked me out because it is the most like clear deja vu that I've had, that just everything was to a T. And it just, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. I don't know. It was just weird. It was weird. I do get deja vu a lot though, and it does freak me out. I'll be like, I've definitely done this before. But for some reason, that one is the one that just really sticks out in my mind. And it was a happy thing. Like, we were on vacation and I had never been where we were on vacation before. So the fact that like my brain conjured up this image and then it happened in real life, I don't know, man. It's pretty weird. I'm pretty sure it's almost the same. It sounds like it's the same to me, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have any of these little deja vu or whatever this actually really is moments? I would really love to hear them. I think they're cool. But yeah, let me know and let's go ahead and move on to stories.
This comes from No Consideration 3201 on Reddit.
Back in 2006, our whole family used to live in a rural town called Legon. At the time, Legon was still underdeveloped, and most of the town was just forest and small roads. My father worked as a school security guard, and my mother owned a small sindel shop. Sindel is a dessert, sweet and cold. On July of that year, our house got burned down. After that incident, we really had no money to rent or buy a house, And out of the mercy from the headmaster of the school that my father worked at, they allowed us to stay at the old Warden house near the abandoned school hostel. We were grateful for it. For the first few months living there, it was okay. But on the third month, we started to experience this weird haunting. One night, when my father was out working night shift, around 11 p.m., we suddenly heard someone knocking on our door. My mother just opened the door because she thought my father had come back home. But there was no one on the outside. At that time, there was only me, my older brother, and my mother in the house. My mother immediately closed the door. I was scared, but my mother and brother calmed me down. It was weird because nobody lived near our house, and our house was mostly surrounded by forest, and just beside it, there was an abandoned school hostel. But it was locked and abandoned a long time ago. When we were ready to go to sleep, something was knocking at the door again, but this time, it was loud and aggressive, as if someone was trying to break in. All of us started panicking, and my mother yelled, "Who is that? Please don't disturb us." And the knocking suddenly stopped, but we heard footsteps circling the house. The footsteps sounded like someone was walking slowly, but dragging their feet. We were so scared, and my mother started to recite some Quranic verses. We're Muslim, by the way. And a few minutes later, the footsteps sound were finally gone. That is the first time in my life I ever experienced something like that, and it was so scary. I will never forget it. A few weeks later, same situation. My father was not home and was working the night shift. Around 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning, we were awoken by the sound of something running on top of the roof. The Warden house is an old Malay traditional house. Most parts of the house was made out of wood, and they used a zinc rooftop. It was so loud, and it sounded like something with two legs running and hopping on the top of the roof. This was going on for a few minutes. And then we heard the same slow footsteps circling our house again. But this time it started to scratch on the wall as if it was trying to scare us. All of these hauntings go on for almost 2 years, and then my parents decided to move out of the house, and they found a new house to rent near the town. We all packed up our stuff and cleaned the house. My father borrowed a lorry from his friend, and we loaded the stuff on the lorry. After we finished loading the stuff, my father went to check the house, making sure that everything is okay before locking the door. Then, my father entered the lorry with my older brother, while my mother drove our mini scooter with me. As we were leaving the house, I turned my head around just to look at the house for one last time. What I saw next is something I will never forget for the rest of my life. I saw a human-like figure exactly on top of the abandoned hostel roof, sitting like in a squatting position. It had long legs, and the hands were touching the roof. It had long hair that covered its whole face, and the skin was pale and bluish. I was horrified by what I just saw. I immediately turned my head back, closed my eyes, and hugged my mother tightly from behind as we were riding the scooter. A few days later, I told my family about what I saw the day we moved out, but no one believed me. They said maybe I was seeing something else. I wrote this just to tell you guys that what I saw to this day is real. I swear it's true. I was 7 years old when this happened, but I know what I saw with my own eyes. I can still remember it. So what's wild to me is that this family together experienced this paranormal stuff happening. And then this person saw the human figure that was running around on the roof. There's no doubt in my mind that this is what it was that was running around when they were all experiencing it. Just nobody saw it, but this person saw it and nobody believes them. Either they just didn't want to believe them because it's just too scary, or this person was just so young that they They didn't want them to feel scared because they were a child, but at the same time, I don't know. I can understand as a parent wanting to protect your child and be like, no, you didn't see that. That's not happening. But at the same time, like, this person saw what they saw. And since the family heard somebody running on the roof, okay, I'm sorry. That is terrifying. And the fact that they heard it, but then this person saw it and nobody believes them, that just is crazy. I don't know. I feel like I would believe my kid, but I'm also into this stuff. So, you know, like I get it from both sides. I'd get it from both sides. But paranormal stuff is different in every culture. And from what I have learned, I don't want to say in my culture, but I guess, I don't know. But what I've learned from all the things that I've seen is you don't open the door to something knocking on the door when there's nobody out there. Now, granted, this person's mother did not know that nobody was out there because she thought it was the father. And what I have learned is when you open the door, you're inviting it in. So I find it interesting that this thing stayed outside, but did opening the door cause it to like ramp up the activity? I don't know. I would just assume that it had come into the house, but that is not the case in this one. So now everything that I've learned just makes me wonder if it's, you know, maybe not real, but okay, let's look at it this way. Now I'm going kind of off the story because now my brain is in another spot. But hypothetically, if all spirits that are out there are humans that are on Earth. And I think I might have said this before, but if you learn something in your own culture, right? You learn that opening doors brings in the spirits. In that mind, as a spirit, when you're on the other side, obviously if you're a spirit, then that's probably how you're going to act, right? But in another culture, maybe that's not how that works, and opening the door doesn't mean that the spirit's going to come into the house. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it make sense. It doesn't have to make sense because it's paranormal, and it will never make sense unless you're a ghost. Like, I don't know. That's why this stuff is so intriguing to me, because you can literally sit here and pick apart things and try to figure it out the best you can, but there's never going to be an answer until you're on the other side. But either way, this is terrifying, and something running on the roof and running around the house, that just makes me want to throw up, because it's disgusting, and it makes my back like tingle. I don't like any part of this story. It's very scary. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
This comes from beneficial-ad5855 on Reddit.
Someone's been working with us. I had another encounter recently, but I'm not sure if it's me hallucinating or not. At first it happened a lot, but now it's stopped. It started 4 months ago. My job starts at 11 p.m. and ends at 8 a.m. So, I sleep all day and wake up at night. Only problem is though, is that I have house chores to do in the morning, so I had limited time to sleep. I tend to go to my office usually 3 to 4 hours early so I can take a nap before my shift starts. Around the time I was taking a nap, that's when the encounters started happening. Some nights, I can hear keyboards or mouses clicking on their own. I would get up and check the area where I heard the noise. There was never anybody there, and the noises stopped. I get back to my office to take another nap, when I heard clicking noises again. Sometimes I would hear things falling off from their desk or moving on their own. Again, I would check right away and observe for a good amount of time to see if it would do it again. Well, nothing happened. When it kept happening for the preceding nights, I stopped checking it and let it play out. The last encounter I had was 2 months ago. I heard the door open to my left, and someone passed by me from behind and sat at their desk on my right side. I didn't pay enough attention since I was taking a nap, so I couldn't tell who entered. Then my supervisor entered the door and greeted me. Good morning. I opened my eyes and greeted back. Then I checked my right side and got confused. At first I thought it was Mitch, who arrives early at the office planning to take a nap like me. But no one was there. I asked my supervisor if they happened to cross somebody else on their way here, or if they had seen anyone enter the office before her. She said no one, and teased me that it was probably the ghost who haunts the building. She is a paranormal enthusiast who loves listening to urban legends and ghost stories as she works. Ever since that encounter, it just stopped making their presence known. Now, I do have some explanations because I might have just been hallucinating. I've been working a lot in this office, and if things are busy, I can hear very audible keyboard taps and mouse clicks, or even objects moving around due to my other co-employees. My brain is probably playing a trick on me every time I work at the office. The someone passing by me one I can't explain because it felt like a person. I would know because the gap is usually narrow, leaving just enough room for someone to pass by me and go to their office on my right. They sometimes would bump my chair on their way unintentionally. Again, could be my mind playing tricks on me. I do tend to get lesser sleep during the day, and could hardly get a decent nap at the office, so it might just be me. But who knows? It could be a playful ghost who got bored at haunting me because I was too tired to feel afraid of what was happening. If anything, it only made me curious. The building is haunted based on what others told me about their experiences with the place. They easily get scared with stuff like this. I did hear from one of our team leaders that somebody died here before, but it felt more like a rumor rather than an actual fact about the place. My boss doesn't entertain this sort of thing, so questioning him is a dead end on getting to know the history of the place. What do you think? I mean, I could totally see how you would think hallucinating is what is going on here, but I'm not sure. If other people are having experiences there too, probably is just a little friendly ghost in the building. But yeah, now I'm really curious to see if someone actually did pass away there, because maybe it is that person. Or maybe it's just like a random spirit who's like, hey, I'm here, and they just really like it there. I don't know. But just based on the fact that other people are having experiences makes me think that yours are probably real too. Now, I will say I've had moments where when I fall asleep, you kind of do that like jerk awake thing, or like you are kind of in that like dream, I don't know, that half dream, half awake state, and you have these dreams where like you feel like things are around you and you like get startled awake, or you just kind of like, oh, someone else is here type of thing, but it's really a dream. I've had that happen before, and that's spooky in itself, because I don't know, I've always wondered if that's kind of like your brain tuning in to the paranormal before you go to sleep. I don't know. It's interesting, but the fact that you're falling asleep and you feel a whole person walk by you, I mean, I think there's a little friendly ghost. I don't think it's too far off to say that the ghost who is haunting it did get bored with you, because you're like, dude, I need a nap. I just need a nap. Leave me alone. Without saying that, I think they got the hint, which I find so interesting because, again, if you're a human on this side and we all turn into ghosts, you know, if that's really how it is, and depending on if you believe in like reincarnation or anything like that, if you're still just stuck over here on the ghostly plane, like, wouldn't you want to haunt people too? I mean, I would. But then, yeah, I'd get pretty bored if this person wasn't reacting to any of the little shenanigans I was pulling. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Let me know. If you have a story, like either story today or any paranormal story in general, head on over to my website and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And well, it's an odd world after all. Oddballs, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever podcast platform you listen on. If you have any comments for this episode, comment below or head over to Instagram and comment on this episode's preview. To submit a story or for more information, go to itsanoddworldafterall.com.